Hello, everybody. Happy Hump Day. It is April 2nd, 2025, and I have all your stories for your rush hour ride home. And on today's episode, we'll discuss Val Kilmer passing away at the age of 65, and a new change to the NFL. They're getting rid of the chain gang, whatever that means. And I'm going to share with you Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds update as new tea has come out about the willful distortion of evidence, and the receipts keep piling up. It's going to be a very fascinating one for you. And then a conversation about due process and what went down in Wisconsin. We'll hear from the guy who ran for the Supreme Court in his speech after he lost, and more on Cory Booker after that 25-hour historic speech. He actually says he wasn't wearing a diaper or a catheter, and that's why he didn't have to take a bathroom break, which is insane. I know the women of this world are going 25 hours without peeing. Are you crazy? I mean, I hear you. I have 1 Celsius. I got to pee every 7 minutes. So I got all these stories. It's going to be a good one. We got an action-packed story. All this and more happening right now on The Rush. Well, after a long battle with throat cancer, we have the star of Top Gun, The Doors, and other classic films. Val Kilmer died Tuesday in Los Angeles, according to his family. Yeah, he suffered for a long time with throat cancer. Here was his final social media post right before passing.
I have an answer for us. It's been a while.
He puts on his...
Oh, you look great.
Puts on his Batman mask, which is really cool. It's like, obviously an iconic, piece of his history. And we lost a legend yesterday. So rest in peace to Val Kilmer. And we almost lost The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Talk about rich guy problems. He discusses how his private jet suffered some mechanical issues. Have a listen.
Last night we had some issues with the plane. About 35 to 40 minutes into the flight, the pilot comes back to me. He gets down on one knee and he faces me face to face. And it's just me on the plane, just me and the crew. And he says, "Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry to inform you, but we cannot continue to fly over the ocean. We have a problem. We have to turn the plane around and we have to land back in Hawaii. You have my word. I will land you back safely on the island." And I so appreciate his demeanor. His name is Captain David. I appreciate his demeanor in that moment. And he explained to me what happened, and he said it was a hydraulics issue with overheating. And he said,
all right, so there it is. So pray for The Rock. He made it back safely. Now, you know what I'm thinking is, was he the only passenger on a private jet flying across the Pacific? Now, was it one of those big flying private jets or small ones? Because I don't know about you guys, I'd rather be flying first class on like a nice Delta flight than private in a small, those private jets where you can't even stand up? Not to say I've got that option. I'm flying economy on Southwest at best. You know what I mean? I'm Spirit Airlines here, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's flying private. But hey, to each their own. Here's to jet fuel burning for The Rock's sake. I just imagine his private jet has a workout facility on it. You know what I mean? All right, well, here's your update on the NFL. They are ditching the chain gang and going to virtual technology. Have a listen to this.
So the NFL making a big change today and eliminating arguably one of the most recognizable parts of the game, the chain gang. When the refs come out with that orange marker, stretching literal chains to see if the football placed ever so dramatically on the grass. It's very dramatic. It's been like a part of just about every football game ever. But now, no more. That's over. Instead, through this partnership with Sony, the league is going to put in 6 high-tech cameras in every stadium to do the measurements.
All right, this is going to be a mess up. There's going to be a problem. And by the way, talk about the branding, right? Even the chain gang is now getting replaced by technology. This first down brought to you by the Sony camera. It's like, oh, good golly. Why did we need to get rid of the chain gang? Just another example of people losing their jobs to big tech. All right, well, anyhow, I tell you what, we got all that out of the way. We're going to get into the Blake Lively stuff because we have a lot to cover today. Again, we had a couple of weeks where no court documents, and now it's all flooding in, right? So we have this response by Justin Baldoni's side in these sort of like the preliminary, case that's happening here, where they're trying to argue who's going to be in the case and who's not. And Ryan Reynolds says, I want to get out of it. He files a motion to dismiss. Well, Justin Baldoni's side says, oh, not so fast, right? So I'm going to share what they had to say. But first, look at this is such a power of the internet. The internet came out, I believe it was Without a Crystal Ball. I hope I'm not wrong there on crediting her, who shared the improvised junk scene. Well, now it's made its way to TMZ, and that's the moment, I'm going to play it again for you real quick. The moment it was revealed, Blake Lively improvised a scene where she grabbed a male actor by his meat and potatoes. I mean, I don't know what to call it, right? His kibbles and bits, right? His frank and beans. Have a listen.
So am I blaming my husband for
am I saying he killed her?
This is one of my favorite additions that you came up with. I think it's nuts. And you really went for it, too.
That's always awkward. And you're like, hey, hi, nice to meet you. Can I grab your nuts?
Now, obviously, in that moment, they were having fun. Can I grab your nuts? But, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to get the actor involved and say, was there a intimacy coordinator? Did you approve her grabbing your genitalia? I mean, imagine a scene. I mean, just reverse the roles here. Imagine a scene if it was a guy like Ryan Reynolds, and he's got an improv scene with Katherine Heigl, let's say, just some actress, right? And in the scene, he's supposed to flirt with her, but instead, he grabs her by her genitals. And she does not work out whether or not she's okay with it or not. If that was the scene, we would be horrified if we found that out. So the question is, were they playing up to the podcast, or did Blake Lively really improv that moment? And again, the big deal would be, well, she accused Baldoni of harassment and led to hundreds of millions of dollars in lawsuits, in part because she's accusing Justin Baldoni of doing something far less nefarious as to what she did to this other actor. So that's where hypocrisy comes in. We'll continue to discuss this. Now, up next, we're going to share a piece from Without a Crystal Ball. She shared Justin Baldoni's partner, not his intimate partner, but his work partner, Jamie Heath, talking about how he met his wife. Now, why this is important is because this is a moment where Blake Lively manipulated the story to fit her agenda. Well, Blake Lively has been called out in the recent documents for manipulating stories to fit her agenda. Here's what was said in the response to Ryan Reynolds' motion to dismiss. Reynolds conspired to defame them, the Wayfair parties, Justin Baldoni, by means of false and harmful statements, but also that Reynolds and others conspired to place the Wayfair parties in a false light by means of false statements and distorting factual statements beyond recognition into falsehoods. California law has long recognized that the torts of false light and defamation are distinct claims with related but separate elements. So what the Baldoni side is accusing Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively of doing is taking moments that were not illegal, not sinister, totally normal stuff that you would see in a film, in a film crew, and distorting them to fit their narrative that he is a predator and a harasser. Well, I'm going to share next what Without a Crystal Ball posted here. That is Blake Lively manipulating information, and we're going to watch that happen in plain sight. That coming next. As part of Blake Lively's real smear campaign against Justin Baldoni, she alleges that Justin Baldoni talked about passing around women with Jamie Heath. Now, Without a Crystal Ball on Instagram posted this clip, which I'm about to share with you, where she said, "Here is yet again another example of how Blake Lively manipulates information and interacts with other people. In her complaint against Justin Baldoni and Jamie Heath, she claims they shared a story with her about swapping a woman. Blake says that Justin went on a date, figured out that she wasn't the one, and then gave her to Jamie. This is not what happened. According to Jamie and his wife, Natasha met Justin at a club. Of course, she was a professional dancer, so it didn't work out with her and Justin, and she then met Jamie Heath. So a completely different story. And of course, all the receipts are here. If this thing goes to trial, this is all stuff that'll be shared as a way to debunk Blake Lively's claims. Have a listen to this. This again is Jamie Heath describing how he actually met his wife.
How we met. She and I met real quickly. Justin Baldoni's met her first at a club. She was dancing, salsa dancing, professional dancer. He then was like captivated by her person. They ended up talking. It wasn't a hit on. They went out to coffee. And then Justin basically, instead of saying, "Hey, what's your number? Let's hang out," it was more like, "Hey, I've got a group of people that are getting together talking about elevated concepts, spirituality, how to be better, how to serve humanity. There's a group of women that are talking about this kind of thing. Would you be interested in like, and she was like, whoa, who are you? Like, you're not trying to like, what are you? Then she started coming around and then she and I met shortly after. I like to tell the story that she hit on me, but she didn't. That she cornered me and was like, please take me out, take me out, take me out. And I was
Please.
that didn't happen. Fast forward, we're becoming friends. We're doing these exercises where you kind of like look in each other's eyes for like as long as you can without blinking and like whatever all that stuff. And we are partnered up to do this. And in that moment, she likes to say that she saw me fall in love with her.
For real. No, I saw it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
But I could see that we had a thing, that there was something. And I literally thought to myself, oh shit, there's something here.
I tell you what, there really isn't anything more sinister than taking a lovely story and sort of like twisting it to fit a narrative that is then used against somebody. So those are Blake's allegations. And again, what might look really damning in a 17 bullet point accusation where she gets Justin to sign off that he won't do these things, right? What might look really damning when you break it all down, it's really wild how distorted it was for Blake to use literally everything they could against them. So those are the receipts. And again, this is another reason why there's no way this thing goes to trial. Because at some point, someone's going to have to sit Blake down and go, honey, this ain't going to work out for you. You think a lot of people know about this now? It's only going to be a fever pitch when this goes to trial. But again, the response to that is, well, Justin Baldoni has no intention of accepting a settlement that doesn't come with a full apology. So either she apologizes or she goes to trial and pulls out some information that we haven't seen yet. But according to all of this evidence, even the stuff that might not make it into the courtroom, I think people are making up their opinion that she tried to bamboozle him. And you know what? What we like to do here is speak up for truth and for justice. We all want to be on the side of justice. Whether you agree with it or not, what Cory Booker did yesterday, I think, will go down in the history books as a guy standing up for justice. He spoke for 25 hours straight. Imagine that. I tell you what, I get a little tired after an hour of doing a live stream. A 3-hour live stream, no thanks. 25 hours is something that should be studied. It should be studied like scientifically, like study his brain, study his bladder. Here he is talking about what he had to do biologically to make that happen. No snacks, no sips. That's the problem, right? I'm doing this podcast right now with a venti coffee. I got a fridge in there with my Coke Zeros and all my Celsius. I love beverages. I would rather I would rather do my live stream in front of a urinal than give up drinking. I assumed he had a diaper on, but now he says, nope, no diaper. No catheter, none of that. And again, everyone's asking him the obvious questions like, were you peeing in your pants? Have a listen.
I talked to a lot of people. I copied some of the things we did for 15 hours. So I fasted for days into it. I stopped drinking water a long time ago. I think that had good and bad benefits. I definitely started cramping up from lack of water. So if some of you saw me really drink nothing, at the end I was just trying to do something to stop my muscles from cramping. So there's just a lot of tactics I was using to try to make sure that I could stand for that long.
He fasted for days leading up to this. And I was thinking that too. How long from your like for you guys, you drink some water at night. Like, I don't want to get up in the middle of the night and have to pee. I don't want to. And like the older you get, the worse off your bladder is. So this idea, this is what I talk about, where I prefer grit and perseverance over anything in life. The successful people in life come from having that sort of grit. Speaking of which, this is a guy who went to Stanford. And look at this. People are starting to share his college videos. Here's a clip of him as a tight end for Stanford catching a pass. Have a listen to this.
I'll give you the number. That's the tight end, Cory Booker. Nice move into the open field.
So it's from his highlight reel getting shared here. Look, I know people aren't going to like him if they're on the wrong side of the aisle, but this is a dude who I think is sleeping on people. He's so well liked in the political world, and he wants a lot of great things for people. He wants healthcare for all. He wants better maternity leave. He wants these things. But what he did yesterday, Monday to Tuesday, the 25-hour stretch, really isn't about those things. It's about preserving democracy. Here he continues explaining how he pulled it off.
On Ronnie's question, and I'm sorry to be crude here, but there's been a lot of speculation about whether or not you're wearing some kind of device, like a catheter or a diaper, and I'm sorry for even asking you this question. I feel weird about it. But were you wearing anything that allowed you to not have to go to the bathroom for 25 hours?
I don't want to send a doctor to get mad at me. I don't want my doctor to get mad at me. But I really spent time dehydrating myself beforehand, so I did not have to go to the bathroom.
You didn't have to go to the bathroom at all for 25 hours.
My challenge was that my strategy was to stop eating. I think I stopped eating on Friday. And then to
Stopped eating on Friday. So he spent the whole weekend not eating? No chicken wings, my guy?
Drinking the night before I started on Monday. And that had its benefits and it had its really downsides. And so instead of fighting or figuring out how to go to the bathroom, I ended up, I think, really unfortunately dehydrating myself. You know, and you guys have written about and talked about it. There's a lot of people out there asking Democrats to do more and to take risks and do things differently. This seemed like the right thing to do. And from what my staff is telling me, a lot of people watched. And so we'll see what it is. I just think...
Yeah, I mean, it's a publicity stunt is really what it is. But if enough people watching go, damn, there are people fighting, those are the leaders that we need. People that show they'll go to that battlefield. And in today's world, the battlefield is social media. So by doing a stunt like this, he's essentially taking the playbook of like YouTubers and Twitch streamers that say, I'm going to stream as long as I can. I'm going to stream, whatever. But I tell you what, when I did a 10-hour live stream, I still took 3 bathroom breaks. So this is absolutely insane that he pulled this off. And by the way, here's Don Lemon, the congratulating Cory Booker here for breaking Strom Thurmond's record. Now, Strom Thurmond had the record for the longest filibuster at 24 hours, which was in order to be opposed to civil rights. So this is a big FU to Strom Thurmond.
Strom Thurmond, suck it. You filibustered the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Now a black man has broken your record. Maybe you're rolling over in your grave. Something, but suck it.
That's the state of the world. Suck it, Strom Thurmond. I don't know, any big Strom Thurmond fans out there want to defend him? All right, well, it's a weird time to be alive, that's for sure. And here's Susan Crawford. She defeated Brad Schimmel in the Wisconsin Supreme Court election. Here's her victory speech.
Gotta tell you, as a little girl growing up in Chippewa Falls, I never could have imagined that I'd be taking on the richest man in the world.
Elon Musk.
For justice in Wisconsin. And we won.
So she won, and again, his side says, well, you've taken money from out of state. That's because people wanted to donate to her campaign because they didn't like seeing a billionaire buy an election. And not just buy an election. Elon Musk, a billionaire buying an election for a judge in a state that his company is going to be in trial? No, not good. Here's what Schimmel had to say. His supporters wanted him to fight, and he this is, I mean, the smartest thing he could have done is admit defeat, and he certainly did, because he took a pounding. Conservative-backed Brad Schimmel concedes. Have a listen to this.
I've called Judge Crawford and conceded. No. You got to accept the results.
Do you? I mean, they're like, we do? I thought we didn't do that anymore.
Just don't... Yeah, right.
The guy goes, what day is it today? April Fool's? Boy, just, look, I've had many jobs in my life where I bomb. You bomb doing comedy. You learn to take a loss. And some people can't, hey, what is it, April Fool's? No, the guy got his ass kicked, even though he had the richest man in the world funding him.
Up here, make any joke. This is the numbers aren't gonna turn around. They're too bad, and we're not gonna pull this off. So, thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. God bless you. God bless the state of Wisconsin. God bless America. We will rise again. We'll get up to fight another day. But this wasn't our day.
It certainly wasn't. And look, I mean, God bless America that we finally have someone admitting defeat, you know? Wild stuff. All right, coming up next, a conversation about due process. You know, you glaze over these terms, and what do they really mean? What does due process mean? We take these things for granted. Well, Donald Trump locked up a cartoonist from the UK, and it led to an interesting conversation about due process and how we all should expect that, even though right now it's not happening.
A cartoonist in Tacoma, Washington was taken by government agents in February 2025 and held in jail for nearly 3 weeks. She has no criminal record, wasn't charged with any crimes, and never saw a judge. But when she begged guards to go home, she was met with radio silence. The U.S. Constitution guarantees every person within our borders, you, your family, your friends, this cartoonist, even your annoying neighbor, a fair, legal process the government has to go through before it can take away their freedom. It's called the right to due process, and it's the foundation of the American legal system. If you're accused of a crime, the government has to prove its case against you, and you have a chance to prove your innocence. And all of that has to happen before you're punished for anything.
You know, and that's what's crazy. You can literally have someone, you know, shot and killed in daylight, in broad daylight. It could be caught on camera. And even that case, the person gets a trial. They have the right to a lawyer. It might sound ridiculous to say that. Oh, we're against capital murder, but still, they are entitled to a defense. That's the world we live in.
This cartoonist, Becky, had been backpacking across the country and was staying with friends in Portland. She wanted to take a few days to head up to Canada, but instead, she was handcuffed. Her legs and waist were even put in chains, treatment usually reserved for the most violent criminals. And even then, only after they've been granted their due process and been found guilty in a court of law. Trump and his enforcer, Tom Homan, have literally said they are ignoring due process because, well, they don't really say, and it doesn't really matter. Because if the president can personally decide who is punished and never has to make his case, they're no longer a president. We have a word for that kind of executive. It's called a king.
All right, so pretty obvious what's going on here, and we provide evidence. Here is the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, explaining why the El Salvadorian prison is being used. She says, even though we had a clerical error, this guy that we sent there was part of a gang. Now, just so you know, every claim she makes wasn't proven in the court system. And because of that, you're just seeing them telling us what the law is, not watching the law be exercised. It's madness.
The administration has expressed a complete confidence in how all the deportation flights to El Salvador were conducted. But now that the administration has conceded that there was an error of one Salvadoran national, will there be any reviews conducted? And does the president express any thoughts on the one error that was disclosed in court last night?
Well, first of all, the error that you are referring to was a clerical error. It was an administrative error. The administration maintains the position that this individual who was deported to El Salvador and will not be returning to our country was a member of the brutal...
Which none of this was proven in court.
That is fact number one. Fact number two, we also have credible intelligence proving that this individual was involved in human trafficking. And fact number three, this individual was a member, actually a leader of the brutal MS-13 gang, which this president...
And so this guy was accused of being a member of a gang in a state he had actually never been to. There are so many accusations that were made here that were not deemed credible at the time, and the charges never came through. It's kind of like with Doge, where they say there's massive fraud being committed. Well, how come nobody's been charged with a crime? And that's because there hasn't been fraud. There's just been money spent in directions they didn't deem necessary. But we can't just say fraud. I mean, prove the fraud, show the fraud, right? I was accused of defamation by Laura Owens. She said I was defaming her because I was calling her a fraudster. But then I proved she committed medical fraud. You see, I lived up to my accusations about her, and it was proven in a court of law. She admitted to it eventually. None of that happened here.
President has designated as a foreign terrorist organization. Fact number four is that foreign terrorists do not have legal protections in the United States of America anymore. And
I'm beginning to think that White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt could be a domestic terrorist, the way she's lying about these things. That's my opinion. Was she going to arrest me for having that opinion? So people say, where's the evidence? And they say, trust me, we got it. But they haven't run it through the court system. They haven't done due process. Here's something I wanted to share with you. It's important in order to empathize with people to see what's going on out there. This is a mom who's lived in the United States for 39 years, hugging her son before ICE detains her. Folks, imagine if this is your mom. Imagine if this is your daughter, your sister, your aunt, your best friend, your hairstylist, the person that imagine 39 years. Now, there are cases where people are in this country illegally and they commit a crime and we send them away. Is this where all of our government money should be spent? Kicking out people and watching them have this tearful moment. They don't know when they're going to see each other again. This family might have to travel to another country to see their mom. And maybe their family will wonder, will they get back into this country? So maybe they never see each other again. This could be, and I don't mean to be sinister, and I don't mean to be divisive, but put yourself in their position. This could be the last time they touch a mother and a son. Sit on that. Here's Jesse Waters on Fox News downplaying the person who was mistakenly sent to an El Salvadorian prison. And then we have the lone sort of voice of reason here trying to make the case for why this is wrong. The lack of empathy is frightening amongst some people. I don't want to be a part of a world where people have this lack of empathy. I reject it entirely. Have a listen to this.
Getting an assurance from the El Salvadorian government that they're not going to torture anyone who they haven't confirmed is a gang member is not the same as not putting these people on the flight. Time magazine was there when the gay barber from Venezuela who had a crown tattoo that said mom was being processed coming into the El Salvadorian. Oh, am I boring you again? I'm sorry.
No, but you've been talking about this gay barber from El Salvador with some stupid tattoo for weeks. Weeks, Jessica.
Oh, you keep on harping on that person who was taken, the innocent person who was taken to essentially a labor camp where they may never get out. Our United States of America government did this and is not making it right. And as far as I know, the only person that can get on the phone is Donald Trump. And if enough people riot and show their absolute disdain for what's going on, I think he makes that phone call. If enough of you guys stand up and do talk about this for weeks and use your platform to say, for every case we know about, there might be 10 we don't know about. People detained, people in some, detention facility being denied their basic human rights, all because they look different or they have the wrong tattoo or they come from the wrong part of the world. That's not the America I want to live in. This lack of empathy is gross. I'm disgusted by this man.
It's just a gay barber.
He's not into you.
He's an innocent guy who got swept up in a deportation, and hopefully we get it figured out and straightened out. But a lot of people this country, Jessica, get arrested for things that they didn't do, get falsely accused, falsely convicted.
I'm also against racial profiling.
That doesn't mean you just stop arresting people. That doesn't mean you stop arresting criminals because one guy was arrested who was innocent. It just means you just try to do it better the next time. And I have nothing.
And how do you try to do it better the next time if you don't hold the people accountable? This is a sick man. This Jesse Waters can quite literally go fuck himself. Because we live in a country where, yes, people are wrongfully arrested. It is terrible out there. But at least they're within the United States. At least we have transparency about what's going on. They have access to a lawyer and can fight for their freedom. We're being told that there is no jurisdiction for those that have been sent to El Salvador. And I'm sorry, if Jesse Waters isn't willing to use his platform to do some good, I am. And we'll continue to talk about these cases until every innocent person is brought home. Or brought to a place where they can receive their rights, their God-given rights. And we'll have people out there, and we've probably scrubbed a lot of them clean by now, but we'll have people out there saying, well, in this country, they don't belong, and this and that. Is that what Jesus would have wanted, or whatever religion you aspire to be a part of? Is that what you would want for your dad, or your son, or your lover? Would you really want to live in a world where, well, I guess we don't have to have empathy because you don't have a paper that's stamped that says you're an American citizen? Because if we start with this, the undocumented, the illegals, those seeking asylum, those with tattoos, then who next? And that's not a game I want to play. It really isn't. All right, there's your episode. Hate to end on a sour note. But that's the world we live in right now. We'll be here to continue to speak truth to power, even if those in power and those with platforms don't want to share the truth. We're here to do it. Appreciate you guys. As I've said all week long, our podcast has never had so many downloads and views. I thank you for sharing us with your friends, your community. Maybe you got someone who doesn't see eye to eye with you and you want to send them this podcast. Hey, here's some pop culture, and then we'll whack them with some truth at the end. How about that? A little Trojan horse with some truth bombs on the inside. All right. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you in the morning. I'm Dave Neal, and this is The Rush.